Hi. I guess you never know what you're going to find and where you're going to find it. And I guess this is not an unboxing video, this is more like an untubbing video. So a couple weeks ago on a Saturday, I was at one of these antique malls in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You know, one of those places where it's a big old giant old warehousey kind of building and there's dozens of different vendors and they each have their own little space with the particular kinds of things that they sell. And this particular location sort of specializes in architectural salvage and really old furniture. And the age of antiques and things here in the South is a lot different than in California because things are actually old sometimes. So as we were rifling through things and looking for something interesting that we might want to buy, we happened across an area that was curated by one of the sellers specializing in vintage audio equipment and records and CDs and things like that. And it's kind of odd to think that CDs are vintage. He also had cassette tapes, which I looked through, but I didn't find anything I really wanted. As we were sort of pawing through stuff, I was looking through receivers and speakers that he had, and I wasn't really looking for anything in particular. Way down in the corner, down on the bottom shelf, was this. Now the lid wasn't on it, so immediately I recognized it and thought, well, that's kind of an interesting find. So let's take a look and see what it is. So buried down in the corner is a NuTone Intercom System. It's a model 2067-2068 master station, but it included 5 moderately early 1967, says here on the code date, model 2027 remote stations. It also, let's put this over here, it included the wall housing, upside down like that, wall housing. It's got the power socket that goes in the wall housing. It's got the original switch block assembly with the built-in terminal strip and a little baggie with all the screws and mounting hardware and brackets and everything like that. So obviously someone took some care in uninstalling all of this and kept it all together. This fella at the antique mall acquired it somehow or another. I don't know, maybe it was him who took it out of a house that he bought, or maybe he acquired it when he was buying stuff from somebody for his antique mall space. Don't really know, but it was a really good find. And not only was it a really good find because it's all complete, but it's also a really good find because it was very reasonably priced. The asking price for all of this, including the master station, was $65. And no, I didn't pay that much for it because, you know, these kind of places you get to haggle a little bit. You never know what you're going to find and where you're going to find it. And this happens to be a particularly good find because it's actually in pretty good shape. Let's move the, tell you what, let's move the big tub out of the way. And look at the master station individually. The only thing that's really wrong with the master station is the metal inlay panel right here. On this end, it's kind of loose because it was probably held on with some kind of double-sided tape that has dried out over the years. That's a very easy thing to fix. In fact, the whole thing is loose. So I'm pretty sure that if we carefully take the knobs off, like this, we can probably just simply lift this off. And as you can see, it's just all the glue has just dried out and failed. So this is actually pretty easy to take care of. The other portion of sets like this where that happens sometimes is this metal mesh inlay where over the top of the unit where the speaker is here, and sometimes those come up and peel, and if this gets bent so it's kind of curved or bent up, it's really hard to fix. But in this particular case, this one's actually in pretty good condition. The other thing, put the knobs back on here real quick, so we want to keep this all together. The other thing, of course, is it's got a fair amount of paint on the bottom edge here. Not too bad on the rest of it. When people paint, they always get paint on the bottom edge because it's hard to see under there, I imagine, when you're painting your kitchen. Sometimes from sets. So this particular master station is from 1967, just like the speakers. The 2067, 2068, it came out It was mid 65 or late 65. It's usually considered a 66 model. One of the problems when you have paint on sets from that era is, since most of the time master stations are sort of in that kitchen area, back in those days everybody painted their kitchen with oil-based enamel paints, and those are hard to clean off the plastic. The other thing that makes this exceptionally nice is the faceplate in colonial brown is not broken. Now, one of the things that most people would not know is that whatever kind of plastic that the brown part that the faceplate was made out of, it is the world's most brittle plastic. I don't know what kind of plastic it is. It was early on in the days when master stations had plastic faceplates. The very first one was the 25, 61, 62. And that came out in 1963, but that's a different kind of plastic. And this one, the faceplate itself, with these beveled edges and returns to the wall and all those sort of things, is a more elaborate design than the faceplate on a 2561. They chose some type of plastic, or someone chose some type of plastic that is extremely brittle. And you could actually take this, if I were to just grab this bottom edge and twist really hard, you can snap a big old chunk out of it. Now, I don't know if it was that way when it was brand new back in the mid 60s, or whether the plastic changes over time and becomes more and more brittle. And I have a horrible experience with this because a really long time ago, back in the mid 1980s, before I started this company, and I worked for the fella who used to be the big NuTone dealer and service center at that time, a customer had brought in a model like this to be repaired. She brought it in and dropped it off, and Larry, who was the guy that worked there that did most of the bench repairs at that time, he had repaired it and rebuilt it and got it working correctly. She came back a week or so later to pick it up, and I went down the hallway to get it out of the repair shop. And as I was carrying it down the hallway like this, out of its tub that it should have been in, and it wasn't, as I was walking through the doorway into the showroom desk area, someone said something, and I turned quickly, as you would do when someone calls your name, and accidentally banged the bottom of the faceplate into the door frame. And the customer was standing right over there and broke a big old chunk out of the faceplate. There was sort of a gasp of horror, and everybody like looked at each other with a stunned look on their face, and it's like, oh crap, now what do we do? Fortunately, it was on the bottom. It was a very clean break, and we were able to very carefully glue the piece back in and so forth. You know, and that was probably in 1985 or 1986, and that was a really long time ago, and I have never forgotten that. You know, you break a customer's set right in front of them, and it's just like a really bonehead thing to do. One of the things when people have these and they need to send them in that we talk to them about, and there's also information on our website about this, is if you have a set like this that needs to be repaired and you need to send it in, you cannot send the entire master station like this as one piece, because I will guarantee you that if you ship this with UPS or FedEx, I don't care how well you package it, it's going to show up with a broken faceplate, and the risk is too high. These faceplates have not been available, and very rarely do you see a good one. Most of the time they're always broken or all beat up, and the inlays are all ruined, and you can't do that. So what you have to do on these is, it's actually a pretty nice design. This is the chassis assembly on the back, and then you have the speaker here. The chassis assembly is held onto the back of the faceplate. There are 4 screws here, one up here at the top, and one down here. And you have to take these screws out, and it's a nice design because they're machine screws, and there are threaded metal inserts that are molded into the plastic of the faceplate, so they unscrew nicely. It's not like those self-tappers that cut threads into the plastic. You remove the chassis and you send me the chassis, and you hang on to the rest of it, because that way it won't get broken. Also, the other advantage to that, which is a small thing but people appreciate it, is that to ship a chassis in a nice size box, it's going to cost probably half as much as shipping the whole master station, so that helps save a little bit. But like I said, this, you never know when you're going to run across something like this, and you have to be ready to jump on it. That Saturday, we were out and about, and I didn't buy it immediately. See here it says 1967. That was on a Saturday is when we found it, and we actually went back on Sunday afternoon. There was a chair there that we wanted to buy, and we wanted to make sure it would work for us. So we went back on Sunday, got the chair and got this, and haggled on the price, and that all worked out really well. So I just thought I would show you what you can find when you least expect it. A nice NuTone model 2067, 2068 in Colonial Brown. So I hope you found this interesting, and maybe for someone it will be helpful. If it is, give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.